York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 164, How to Raise Testosterone Through Diet. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. And if you're a new listener, you've just found the best muscle building and fat burning Get Strong fitness podcast network ever. For all of our listeners, I want you guys to head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com/getjacked, Jakked. That's our free gift to you. It's a free 12-week training program. Again, it's our gift to you guys because, again, you guys are the reason why we do this. So head on over there now, newyorkmuscleradio.com/getjacked for your free program. So if you're a new listener and this is your first episode you're listening, you get a free program. Look at that. How generous are we, big guy?
That's the way we do it here. We like to provide you guys with good content, good information, good training programs, because we want you guys to get to work right away. If you're stumbling upon this for the first time and you haven't even started working out, or you're putting together a routine, or you want to try something different, we got you covered. Go right to the website, newyorkmuscleradio.com/getjacked, and start training.
And get jacked.
Yeah, man.
Boom, 12 weeks.
That's going to take some time. It's not going to happen instantly, but if you start working out right away, you're moving in the right direction. Eventually, you will get jacked.
Come on, man. It happens right away. We wrote the program. Of course it's going to happen because it's going to work.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's going to happen the fastest way possible if you follow our program.
Naturally.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that to kind of like boost up what we do, but the fact is the stuff that we put in there is really it's really the fastest way to get to your end goal. You know, there's no beating around the bush doing unnecessary stuff that most people do in gyms, you know? This is the real deal.
Oh, come on, man. You mean the girl doing the glute kickbacks in the corners actually doesn't know what she's talking about?
You know, I've seen that less. I think I've seen that less lately. I think people are starting to get smart.
Yeah, because you
now.
work out with me, man. Of course you're not going to see that.
Yeah, but
There's
I
no
still
one
every once in a
and
while. I know it's true. Yeah, it's true. But I train at a commercial gym. I train at a commercial gym once a week on average, generally on Saturdays. So I'm seeing less of that, and I'm seeing more of the squats, more of the deadlifts, and still seeing the same dumb stuff that a lot of guys do. But I think the women are starting to get smarter.
Yeah, well, the women must be listening to the Bikini and Barbell show, which is another show on our network. What are the guys doing dumb now? I mean, I haven't been in a gym in so long. I mean, I'm lying. I was in a public gym this weekend, but on the regular, what are they doing dumb now?
I'm trying to see. I mean, I'm still seeing constant machine work with no range of motion. You know, just loading up the machine and just repping out, quarter rep movements. You know, I saw somebody doing. The squats are getting higher now. They used to be quarter squats. Now they're like 1/8 squats. There's never going to be a shortage of guys doing dumb stuff in the gym. I think it's just part of our nature as guys. There's a lot of dumb guys. So in the weight room, it all gets exposed very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, trying to think. I mean, I know a lot of machine stuff. That's such a waste, man. I mean, we talked about this so many times. Besides the fact that, you could definitely – a lot of people think that free weights are dangerous to use, but you can get hurt on a machine a lot easier than you can using free weights, believe it or not.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not that they're just using machines. I mean, there's a time and place to use a machine, maybe if you got an injury or you're trying to use a different exercise or you're swapping something out or whatever it is. But if you're going to use a machine, then you may as well use it correctly. And I'm seeing a lot of people, like I said, doing short range of motions on machines. They're not actually even targeting the correct muscle groups. I see people doing pull downs with terrible form, and it's just such a simple exercise, especially if you're just trying to focus and engage on the lats. And I see people using pull downs using every other muscle in their upper body except for their lats. It's like insane.
I mean, I haven't seen that in a while, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's funny because me and you we're always like not playing around in the gym, but always like testing new things and, constantly, I guess from the outsider's eye, if they would actually, there was a little bee in the gym or like little eyes in the gym watching us, it'd be kind of funny because we both have our shirts off talking about certain things we need to work on. And then we come up with exercises to fill in the areas. And it works, man, but it's just, I guess it would be funny for an outsider to like look. Can you imagine people like if they looked into the gym and saw what we do?
Oh, yeah,
like
they would think we're nuts.
when I was posing in front of the mirror and like we were talking about where to fill out my delts and what to do. But then listen, we figured out that there was a certain area of my traps that we wanted to work on, and looking for a certain way to do different types of shrugs to kind of bring up that area of the traps, and we found it. We did. We found it. A little unique exercise, and we'll probably make a video for you guys, and that'll be on our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/abfitnesstrainer if you guys want to head on over there. But yeah, dude, I mean, that's the only way it works.
Yeah.
Freeway. I didn't say, oh, what machine should I buy to go hit that area? Because in fact, I happen to think that machines hit certain areas of the muscle you're trying to bring up worse than a freeway can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I talk about this a lot, too. And you joke sometimes, too, about the way I do certain exercises. And, you know, if you take a look, if you kind of break down the way I do every single exercise, the fact is very few of them I do with quote-unquote textbook form. And that's because I purposely use these exercises to hit certain parts of my muscles, and I use them based on the way that my body structure is built. So for me, I might have to tweak it a little bit to hit that certain part of the muscle or to focus on a certain area a little bit more than others. And I'm not talking about like doing an isolation movement where I'm trying to bring out the peak of my bicep by doing a crucifix curl or something stupid like that. But what I'm trying to say is when I do my lateral raises, I don't necessarily bring them up in the same movement pattern as somebody else because my structure is a little bit different. Same thing when I do my tricep press downs, my skull crushers. My entire frame is different. My proportions are different. The length of my arms are different. So I'm going to move that bar in a different path than maybe you would or somebody else would. And I think that a lot of people get caught up in doing textbook form and they get away from what's natural to their body. And I think that that's a big thing you need to figure out for you. You know, you should know textbook form, but then you should also assess, is this targeting the actual muscle I'm trying to train? Because that's not always the case, you know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what makes free weights a lot safer than machines. Just for that little bit of movement that you could do. I mean, you know, think about doing an incline bench press versus doing a Smith machine press. A lot of people love doing an incline press on the Smith machine, but the problem is it locks your whole body in place. Whereas if you're doing a free weight movement or barbell movement and incline, you know, using the same movement but with a barbell, you have just that little bit of inch here and there that you kind of wiggle room. But that may be more comfortable for your shoulder, and you can actually stimulate more muscle utilizing that. I don't know why people like the Smith machine so much. I've always hated it. It's almost been like instinct for me not to like that machine.
Yeah, I think it's just for the extra comfort knowing that the thing's locked into the machine, you know. But, you know, that's a really good point because even if you compare dumbbells even to barbells, if you were to go press an incline dumbbell, and I told you just press it from A to B, right? And do it in the most comfortable position you can. I guarantee you, your hands are probably going to be closer at the top than they are at the bottom. And I'm not telling you to do that on purpose. I'm saying to do it from a comfort standpoint. So if you think about it, if you're able to move those dumbbells closer as you press them, and that's natural, when you're using that Smith machine, you don't have that option. You have to press it from the bottom to the top in the exact same position. You know, so if you naturally want to do that, then probably that's the best way to do it. And, you know, you can't do that with machines. You're going to have to focus on that with a free weight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. So stay away from them machines. I guess that's the error that guys make, huh?
Well, they make plenty of them, and that's just one of them. You know, I mean, like I said, the 1/8 squats is probably a lot worse. If I got to fix the 1/8 squats versus the machines, I say, listen, just keep doing the machines, but we got to fix that squat, man.
Yeah. Man, I'm kind of not in the mood to talk about fitness right now. What else can we talk about for a little bit here? I'm a little what's the word? I feel a little rusty. I feel like I haven't recorded a podcast in a while, so I don't know. What else can we talk about, man? Let's off-topic fitness a little bit and then come back to it. Because we gotta, again, we're going over this testosterone series, and this stuff is dense, so we're gonna have to lighten it up a little bit before we get into today's stuff. So, and we also have a good listener question too, so I'm excited to play that through. But let's what else is going on in your life, man? How's everything? How's the love life, man? People have been asking.
Man, my life right now. See, the funny thing is you said let's not talk about fitness, but my life right now is literally fitness, and fitness is a very small part, and then business and New York Muscle Radio takes up the entire other 80% of my life, I'd say right now. So that's like all my life is. I'm like a hermit in this room right now. So I moved my office upstairs in my house to get a little more clean space, more productive setting, because I actually do believe maybe it sounds hippie or something, but I do believe that whatever environment you're in is actually going to either enhance or take away from your productivity. And I think
Who gave you that advice? Tony Robbins?
No, I've heard that somewhere.
Dude, are you turning out to be like one of those guys, man?
Why, you don't agree with that?
Are you turning out to be one of those guys?
You think you're as productive? Would you think you'd be as productive working, let's say, I don't know, if you ever people go to like a library or they go to like Starbucks or something to get out of their house just to go work because they're like, all right, change the environment.
I can't do that. I feel like I would be too distracted in a place like that.
I agree. But what I do think that offers is you getting out of your house and out of your normal environment. So if you're like let's say you're having writer's block if you're an author, or like let's say you're working on a project or you're working on podcast stuff and you're coming up with ideas and you run out of ideas. Sometimes you just need that change of environment just to get your mind in a different state, I guess. I don't know, just to get out of your little rut. If you're in a place and it's not working for you, you got to change something. So, I moved this stuff upstairs, and this room is a little brighter in here. I was able to set up my little chalkboard over here. It's not really a chalkboard; it's a fake chalkboard, but I can write on it. See you. I'm painting a mental picture here.
Oh, okay.
So to my right, I have my chalkboard. And I got a nice clean desk. I got my notepad. I got everything I need. And I'm setting the mood in here. I brought my bodybuilding trophies up to remind me of all the stuff I had going on, and so I'm trying to make this a very successful environment here, and I think it's paying off. We've got a lot done in the last couple of weeks. You gotta admit, how much more work have we gotten done in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks?
Yes, that must be it, man. It must be because you moved your office upstairs. That must be why we got things done.
I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm just saying I'm focused on it. Leave no stone unturned. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Stop being negative. You see, we missed you on the bikini and barbell show the other day, and it was nice and quiet over there. No confrontation, no bullying. It was just pure fitness and information. Now he's back.
Back up. I'm pretty sure I didn't hear the podcast, but I'm pretty sure it's Picacharian hour because I'm pretty sure you rambled on about your macros and what you're doing. I didn't even listen to it, and I could tell you probably what you said on the podcast.
That's why you're here, right?
For everyone listening to this is going to come out Friday, April 7th, right? Yes, April 7th. And I didn't hear the Bikini and Barbell show. So, guys, for next Tuesday when the Bikini and Barbell show comes out, just listen to it and let me know if it's the Picacharian hour, because I'm pretty sure it will be.
That's why you got to be on there, man. You got to keep me in check. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, someone's got to pull the reins down.
Anthony's micromanaging the podcast. Let me sit in and make sure it sounds right.
Or in Wedding Crashes, someone's got to pay for the lap dances for the big guy.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so whatever. Whether this is the reason it works or it doesn't work, more productivity means, that we're doing something right, and that's how I'm trying to keep it. So I've been focusing on that because New York Muscle Radio, we're still growing every month, every year, and I still have big plans, big aspirations for it. I know you do too. So we're trying to keep this moving as fast as possible.
Are your plans different from mine?
No, we're on the same page. I hope so.
Oh, all right. No, I mean, I hope so. I want to know what plans you have.
No, I'm saying I have big plans. I know you do too.
We. I know you don't like to use that word we. It's usually you. I. Picacharian, I. It's we, man.
Because, it's all about me, right? It's the Picacharian hour.
Well, clearly. Yeah, well, we'll see when the Bikini and Barbell show comes out. We'll find out, man. You can't hide it now. You can't edit that podcast because there'll be probably no content in it.
You guys listening, you be the judge. Send us an email. Contact us on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to talk to us and say, listen, was it Big Pete hour or what? Was Anthony out of line for saying that? Let us know.
Yeah, we'll find out. Man, I'm almost at 10,000 followers on Instagram. I'm super excited. Guys, if you haven't followed me yet, it's at AB Fitness. Pete's at Jacked Fitness, JKKED Fitness. Give us a follow on there, as we're always kind of posting some stuff up there. I've been using that story feature a lot more because I don't have to write anything and just kind of post up something. But my phone, I think I need a new phone, man, and I really don't feel like fucking buying a new one. But it's so slow. I recorded something for the story, and then I saved it the other day, and it never went up on my story. I'm like, what the hell? So I was pissed.
Yeah, it sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, my phone's not working. What, are you not listening? You're not paying attention as always.
No,
see, look,
really.
I
wasn't really interested.
Yeah, I see that. Go ahead, then lead the podcast, big guy. Go ahead. Go. Come up with the next topic. Let's hear it.
I thought we were just...
Let me tell you what I'm doing today, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I did today.
Guys want to hear what I did today? Let me tell you.
tell
No,
us, man.
actually, all I did today was...
Actually, wait, hold on. I'll tell him what you did funny today. So we finished our workout today, and then we were having our post-workout shakes because we're bros, and we do that. And I was actually having some Fruit Loops because I happened to have Fruit Loops in the house, and I wanted to get rid of it, and I needed some carbs post-workout. So Pete had vanilla protein powder in like a mini shaker cup, and put his protein in there and was starting to drink it. And I poured out my cereal, and I said, I got one more serving of cereal left, man. You want it? So he's like, yeah. I'm like, don't worry, it has no soy in it. So he's like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. So he takes it. We put it in the shaker bottle, and I was actually like, wow, that actually probably tastes really good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, except for the fact that when I drank it, all the protein powder came out and the Fruit Loops stayed in the shaker cup.
Well, you didn't let it sit enough so for it to like melt.
I had to get my post-workout protein in, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty funny. That's something you did funny today.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, the funny part of that story was I didn't even want the Fruit Loops. You offered them to me, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. And you're like, come on, just take them, because Anthony hates he don't want to keep one serving of Fruit Loops
Dude,
around.
I hate that.
And he doesn't want to throw them out, so he's like, please, just eat them. And I'm like, all right, give them to me. I didn't even want them, but I was like, yeah, you know what, that might taste pretty good, and it actually did. So for anybody who wants to have like a weird combo that tastes good, we talk a lot about adding cereal to our protein powder and stuff like that. I do nasty stuff sometimes. I even, I put chocolate protein powder in with like honey bunches of oats, and it's just not. It works. It's not a good combination, but it works. But like if you're looking for something tasty and you like Fruit Loops, I'm actually not even a big fan of Fruit Loops, but it worked good with the vanilla protein powder. So you do vanilla protein powder and Fruit Loops. It kind of tastes like almost
cereal?
Like it's almost like it's cereal, but it almost tastes like yogurt or ice cream where you put like cereal on top of it. It doesn't taste like anything nasty.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that after I saw you do that, I'm like, fuck, I'm kind of pissed that I gave him the last serving.
That's what you get. You forced it on me, man.
Yeah, well, no, because dude, I hate that so much. When there's like,
what are you gonna do with one serving?
I hate that. And you know what it was? I was like, this is probably not even exactly a serving. And sure enough, it was.
It was exactly a serving?
It was exactly a serving.
All right, next time, man.
Yeah, what can you do? So what else, man? What else is going on in the Picacharian world? Dude, I asked about the love life. You deflected that question again.
Yeah, we had a conversation about deflecting conversations and topics today.
Yeah,
we did that too.
I called you out on it today.
Yeah.
How you deflect questions.
Yeah.
So when someone asks you a question, you ignore it and just talk about something totally left.
Yes. You see, so guys, anybody who wants to learn about how to do that, I'm explaining it. So.
Okay, go ahead.
So I told Anthony, I said, there's no universal rule that if somebody asks you a question you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer it. You can answer with anything. So if somebody says, oh, Pete, how's your love life? And I can say, listen, I've been so busy with the podcast and working. That's my life. I just deflected the question, but I never even bothered to bring it up. So that's how you get around it without addressing it. Now, when you deal with somebody like Anthony, who doesn't leave you alone, he'll say, oh, okay, cool. But Pete, what about the love life? But the average person, just so you guys know, don't use Anthony as an example. The average person, you could deflect that question. You could deflect any question. And most people will just take your answer. Most.
Yeah, because most people don't give a crap. I actually give a shit about you, man. You believe that? I know it's hard for you to believe that someone actually cares about you, but I actually do care about you, man. We're buddies. I do care about you. But I bet you, if I listened to that bikini and barbell show, I bet you if my sister asked you a question like that, you probably deflected it.
I don't know. I don't think she did ask me that question.
Well, if she asked a question like that you didn't want to answer, you deflect it.
Do you always answer every question you don't want to answer?
Yeah.
Why? You don't have to.
I don't know. If someone asked me a question, why would I not answer it?
If you don't want to talk about it, why would you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, but okay. You see,
why? See, because look, no, this is what you do, man. Because you don't want to look like a bad guy, so you just deflect it. That's even worse.
Yeah, but you purposely try to pull it out of me, and that's the reason you're doing it. You don't really care. You just want to sit here and watch me deflect it, so you could call me out on it. That's exactly why you're doing it.
I do care. Why do you think I'm asking you?
Yeah, because you waited until I was on the podcast to ask me.
I always ask you. Don't even start that. I always ask you.
Hey, man, why
don't start rumors, man.
Why are you deflecting my question?
So what's the question? Do I call you out on the podcast? Yeah, because you're a piece of crap and you try to hide it. So I'm pulling it out to let everyone know who listens to New York Muscle Radio that Pete Kacharian's not a nice guy.
Man, my hamstring just Charlie horse so bad I had to pause for a second, but I think I'm still good. I've been getting those a lot lately, guys. I know this podcast is like going going in 20 different directions right now, but this is just how me and Anthony have conversations.
Now, this is how I get warmed up, man. See, now I'm getting fired up. I'm getting thirsty. You know, this is how I know I'm good to go. I was a little asleep before.
So, you know what? Since we're talking about all random topics, I think that's a good topic to go into.
I deflected the question.
I asked you a couple.
You'll never answer the question.
I asked you a couple days ago.
I'll let it slide, man.
I've been having crazy cramps in my hamstrings and my quads. Especially when I train them, but even like right now, I just leaned over a little bit and my hamstring just cramped up like it was going to Charlie horse. And normally I don't have those, you know, I might get one here and there, but I've been having them for like the last 2 weeks pretty much. And I was talking to you about it, and you said you think it was maybe magnesium?
Magnesium, it could be. Maybe even salt, man.
But you see, I'm eating plenty of sodium. I always do, you know? And that's
are
normally
you eating less now than normal, or maybe you changed the certain foods that you were eating before that had more? Are you having more water now, less water now? How's your relationship doing? I mean, these are all questions that play into the.
Well, you know, my relationship. Let's talk about that, actually.
All right, yeah, go ahead, man. I think everyone wants to hear it. Let's hear it.
I have a very healthy relationship with food right now.
With
you know,
yourself,
I'm not in a.
See, look,
I'm not. I don't have any of those issues like you know, associating good foods and bad foods and foods that are no good and trigger foods and stuff like that. Like all of it's food, so I have a very healthy relationship with food.
All right, man, thank
you for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. Actually, speaking of food, again, we're going in another random topic. Our newest client, Dr. Rory Alter, who is our newest client on New York Muscle Radio, she hired us for some coaching. But she told me about something called moon cheese. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So basically, it's like I've never heard of it before. It's like hard cheese, but almost like cheese, like kind of puffs. I don't know. Apparently, it's really good. I've never heard of it, but I never heard of it, and I felt like a crazy person to say I've never heard of it. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I've never heard of moon cheese.
Moon cheese. Apparently, it comes in like a bag with a couple of servings, but that's just something that she was eating, so I was just curious about that, so I figured I'd talk about it on the podcast because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm sure somebody listening to this eats some moon cheese, and they're going to correct us on it and let us know all the details we need to know about moon cheese, but I don't really know. I keep my cheese basic. I like them.
I want to know where they got the name moon cheese.
Yeah, I don't know. I eat something called American cheese or mozzarella cheese. And
you like a lot of Famunda cheese, right?
No. No.
You know that joke?
I do, but I can't remember what the joke actually is.
I'll leave that. I'm deflecting the question, man.
Yeah, there you go. You're learning.
We'll just leave it at that you like a lot of
Famunda cheese. Oh, yeah, Famunda cheese. Is cheese from under your feet or something like that?
No.
What is it?
I don't know. We'll go back to that.
Is it not? You're not comfortable saying it on the podcast?
Yeah, you know what? I have a good relationship with the things that I say on this podcast.
Okay.
All right, man. Let's move on to the listener question of the day. Guys, if you have a question you'd like us to answer, you could submit it on our website, NewYorkMuscleRadio.com/listener question. Again, you could call it, text it in. We all know that everyone's shy as hell on this podcast. They don't like to call it in, so stop being afraid and call in, damn it. All right, so today's question is from Brenda, and this is funny. This question we didn't know the answer to. You know, here on New York Muscle Radio, at least one half of us doesn't pretend to know all the answers to everything. You know, maybe the other half might, or he may just deflect the question if he doesn't know it. But anyway,
who refers to themselves as the other half?
I'm referring to you as the other half.
No, you as the other half.
You. He hits it. He hits my hair.
Yeah.
But guys, for those of you that don't know me and Pete, all day long we're constantly reciting lines from random movies. So right now, the flavor of this week is Hercules in New York. For those of you that didn't see that movie, get it and watch it, but watch the not dubbed version. So it's Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Hercules. And Pete, maybe you could actually do some work and insert the clip here.
But what happened? I don't know. I could not lift it. My strength, it seemed to have gone.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger always says, "My strengths, they seem to have gone."
Yeah, it's kind of bad, man. Me and Anthony actually just walk around and like our conversations, like we answer each other with lines from stupid movies, and the other person knows the actual what we mean. So it's a very odd way to communicate, but we both have seen the same stupid movies enough times that we could have a full blown conversation with movie quotes.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got this question and we weren't sure of the answer, so we reached out to the New York Muscle Radio doctor, Austin Marshall, and he actually answered this question for us, and he recorded it for us. I'm going to play the answer, but I'll read the question first, obviously. So today's question's from Brendan. It's a great question. She says, I was just listening to the Bikini and Barbell Show podcast about binge eating. My question is, at certain times of the month, probably the week before my period, I get so hungry all the time, feel puffy, and find it hard to not eat all the time. The week after, I'm not as hungry and feel awesome. This happens whether I maintain what I eat during the whole time or I just go with whatever I want to eat. Does a woman's hormone levels change during a cycle, the speed of the metabolism, as in suddenly being hungry / not hungry? Is it possible I could be use my cycle to an advantage, whether bulking or cutting? This is a great question, and something that I have thought of that, and I was never sure of the answer. So, but I kind of like never. I'm not a girl, so obviously it doesn't pertain to me. All right, guys, here it is.
Hey guys, I was just checking in with y'all on the listener question that y'all wanted me to answer. So it's a really good question in general, but she was asking about and kind of in regards to binge eating and at the certain time of month that she feels like right before her period that she gets real hungry and puffy and is just having issues as far as hunger and general feelings around it. So my answer to it is really that it's completely normal for her to have these pretty large fluctuations in hunger throughout really the entire menstrual cycle, but especially the week before. There's a lot that goes into it hormonally, but as far as what she was asking about whether women could use it as far as like a bulking and cutting type cycle, it's a bit of a loaded question because there's so many different things that go into it. But I mean, in general, it really all comes back to the balance and the ratio of all the hormones together. So women, they will have about midway through the cycle, whenever FSH starts to rise, they will have a bit of an androgenic response in some of the hormones there, like testosterone, androstenedione, stuff like that could also have potentially slight androgenic properties, and it would make sense that a lot of women, especially after a week or so after their period, that's kind of at the point where they're usually feeling the best in a hormonal stance as far as midway through their cycle. And in a lot of ways it makes sense from a biologic standpoint, because this is when mood should be the highest, libido should be the highest, right, to hopefully coincide with ovulation to get pregnant. So technically, maybe if you had to answer the question, the optimal muscle building time frame from a hormonal standpoint is maybe about a week or so after the period starts. I wouldn't say though it's like the only thing that goes into it, because these hormone shifts are nothing near the numbers that we're talking about for men. So it definitely is a factor in mood and in general, but still at a pretty low level compared to men. So in regard to the food cravings and weight fluctuation, all of that, the biggest thing that comes back to is her progesterone levels. And so if you look at, there's some graphs of, where these hormones, kind of how they fluctuate all throughout the hormone cycle or the menstrual cycle. The week leading up prior to menstruation, progesterone is one of the things that jumps the highest, and that is a fairly anabolic hormone in and of itself. And whenever we put women on progesterone-only therapy, it's kind of well known that a lot of the side effects are a little bit of fluid retention, a little bit of bloating, moodiness, acne, a bit of weight gain. So it's definitely a most correlated to the progesterone spike, and some women are just more sensitive to it than others and can have a higher concentration of it. So to answer her question, it has a lot to do with all of the hormones that she was talking about. So I kind of think back to the scene in Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams is saying, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." So not to be a scapegoat for it, but definitely women are dealing with a lot of hormonal issues that we're not having to deal with as men, and it really can impact a whole lot from mood to recovery to just general feelings of well-being. So that would be my answer to that.
Boom. I like how he also quoted a movie. That's why he's a New York Muscle Radio doctor, man. But I'm sorry, I kind of, not that I didn't listen, I listened to it, but he kind of lost me. Not lost me, but when he mentioned, libido increase during around that time, I just kind of like, that's so true. And then I kind of ran on a whole rant in my head.
You're like, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, it does, though. It does. So, yeah, but Austin's a great guy, Dr. Austin Marshall. We love him, and he's the New York Muscle Radio doctor. So glad he was able to answer your question, Brenda, and I think he did a good job in answering it. So, Austin, thank you again for your time, and Brenda, thank you for the question.
Yes.
Do you have anything you want to say there, big guy?
No, I'm glad Austin came through with that answer because it was much more detailed than I think we would have went into on that one. So if she was looking for a detailed answer, he definitely delivered that.
Yep.
Do you want to get the results you've always dreamed of? Do you want coaches that genuinely care, are professional, and get back to you in a timely manner? Do you want to be stronger, healthier, and look better naked? Then let me tell you, New York Muscle Radio is definitely your answer. Since working with them, I can hardly believe the results.
They coached me through a post-contest reverse diet and all the way through to an off-season strength program.
These two fitness geniuses have pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and in the process, I have been able to make big jumps on all of my major lifts.
In 14 weeks, I added 100 pounds to my powerlifting total and smashed my first meet.
Since working with them, I've added 55 pounds to my squat, 50 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my bench press.
And in 12 weeks, I dropped over 10 pounds of body fat and added over 20 pounds to all my lifts.
I have never had as amazing of glutes as I have training with them. So I can say, no matter what your goals are, you're guaranteed to be stronger, healthier, and let's face it, better looking if Pete and Anthony are your coaches.
So if you are tuning in to listen and learn from the huge array of knowledge these two have, or if you want to hire them as your coaches, you will not be disappointed.
New York Muscle Radio is the best in the business.
You heard it from our New York Muscle Radio clients. Do you want to join our team and reach your fitness goals? Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com for all our coaching programs.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that bang.
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big E, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audiobook, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Coffeine, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
Damn.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean...
What can I do?
You gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious?
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
All right, man, let's get rolling with today's topic, the baseline for testosterone and raising testosterone through diet. So, guys, testosterone again. Here we go. You guys asked for it. We're giving it to you, and we're trying to do this as simple, making this chemical processes that go on in your body as simple as possible. So what is the baseline for testosterone? So let's go over this now to kind of give you guys an idea of what is a good level of testosterone to have, what's a low level of testosterone, what's normal, high, and optimal, whatever. Big guy, let's roll in what the average testosterone levels are. So they would say that the average healthy testosterone is anywhere between, again, correct me if I'm wrong, man, but
Depends
I believe
where you look, but
yeah, 300 is the bottom number, all the way up to 1,000 is the high number, right?
What did you say the bottom was? I missed that.
I don't know if it might be lower than 3 now, actually.
You can see it as low as 250, I've seen, which in my opinion is way too low to be optimal. But either way, that's a huge range. You know, for somebody to come back with a 300 testosterone and the doctor or whoever is looking at it to say, oh, yeah, that's normal. And then have the same person, another person, same age, relatively very similar in age, weight, everything like that, come back with a testosterone level of 1,000 and say, oh, yeah, that's normal too. There's a huge difference. You know, you're talking about 3 times the amount of testosterone. So yeah, that's the reference range where on paper it's considered normal, but there's a lot of leeway in there.
Yeah. So we went along and created a more optimal levels of testosterone for total testosterone. So we're going to give you guys kind of, I guess, like our guess. So where we see things. So anywhere between obviously 0 and 400 nanograms per deciliter is considered low testosterone for muscle building purposes. So anywhere between 0 and 400, low. Then we have anywhere next from 500 to 700. I would consider that normal testosterone. Again, this is for muscle building, fat burning, strength building purposes. Anywhere between 700 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter is going to be considered high for muscle building, fat burning, strength building purposes. And anything over 1,000 is what we're going to consider here optimal. Because the goal is, if your testosterone is around 400, we're going to consider that low for muscle building purposes, and we're going to want to try to improve that by everything that we're going to explain to you guys in this podcast, in the course. So we want to try to get that. The goal is to get that, to be in that normal range. Like I said, the normal range for doctors is 250 to 1,000. We want to try to get you to the high end of that so you're more in an optimal testosterone level.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we said, if you're trying to build muscle, burn fat, get stronger, that difference in just that hormone alone can make a huge difference in how much muscle you build, how much body fat you burn, and how easy you do it. So yeah, getting that in check while you're doing everything correctly is going to help speed up the process and help you get more progress. So somebody who's always going to be on the low end but does everything right is going to be more limited in how far they could take their physique versus somebody who's on the higher end. So you want to make sure you got all your ends covered hormonally as well, not just with nutrition, not just with training and everything, you know.
And as you can see, the range is from 250 to 1,000. So you have a lot of room to play with, you know, from health standpoint in order to get it to the optimal level. So the goal is for everyone listening to this to try to get them to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, as that would be optimal for muscle growth. I mean, even my co-host here, his testosterone level, what was it? 600, 700, 800, 900? What was it? 800?
Average for me is right around 800. And that's another thing, too. It can fluctuate a little here and there. So you might go get blood work done and come back at 800. You might get bloods drawn again a couple months later to see if things have changed. And let's say they didn't change, but you might get a reading where it says 700, 750. That's completely normal. Even if you take a testosterone test 2 days later, just based on the day, your body's not producing the same exact amount. So there will be fluctuations, but if you're looking to see improvements, yeah, if I get blood work done 800 and I want to see it higher, the next time I come back, it should be like 900, 1,000, something like 825. I don't consider that an improvement. That's just, it could have been the next day 825.
Yeah, but my point is, even though Pete's testosterone's average 700, you know, obviously he has room to still go to 1,000. So there's probably things that he's doing in his diet that he could change and training in order to get to higher. So just want to keep that in mind. So guys, that's the chart that we're giving you guys. That's the goal, is if you're in anywhere in that normal range, we want to try to get you to that high end of the normal range. So big guy, why does the diet control hormone levels?
Well, the diet is it's very important for hormone levels because a lot of our hormone processes are made through our actual nutrition. So when we talk about different macronutrients, micronutrients, minerals, vitamins, everything like that. A lot of those are what we need to focus on to get these hormone levels in the normal range and in the optimal range. So your body has a normal baseline of what it likes to produce, but that's provided that you're fueling it with what it needs to get those hormone levels up. So somebody who's not optimizing their nutrition and sees their hormone levels are on the low end or the average or low end, adding in the proper nutrition on top of that, it's going to give your body all the nutrients it needs to produce these hormones and to raise them up. So you can't just wish that your body's going to produce more testosterone. You can't just do things in change your lifestyle. Those will help. But you need to
can't
provide.
Use the law of attraction, man. You can't wish your testosterone to go higher.
I mean, you can give it a try. I've never seen it done. I'm sure somebody on here will come on and argue me against that. But I'm gonna say,
I watched the movie The Secret, and they told me to see it. And I took my blood work and I wrote 1,000 on there, and I hung it on my wall, and I stared at it every day for a month. And then I went and got my testosterone checked, and it was 1,100.
Do you remember we had that conversation on the law of attraction on one of the podcasts a long time ago, and I said I went on a rant about what my thoughts were on that?
No, I don't care. You always go on a rant. You always go on a rant. But actually, one of the things that I thought was cool from that podcast, and that movie, I actually wrote it. They said to take $1 bill and write like the amount that you want to see on it, and I taped it to my ceiling, so every morning I would wake up and I would see it. It didn't really work, but it was just cool, like every day to like see that and kind of be reminded of, all right, I gotta hustle today.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure if I put $1 on my ceiling now, my wife will kill me.
That's what I meant to say, and we'll talk a little more about this. But we're gonna get back to the nutrition in a second, guys. We're not going too far off track, but since we're talking about this, let's finish it up. That's what I meant when I ranted about The Secret. I hate that people think the message behind The Secret was, or the law of attraction is, just think about it and hope for it and wish for it, and if you keep thinking about it enough, the universe will present it to you. That's not really the way that The Secret was, the message behind The Secret was intended to be used. The way it was intended to be used was, like you said, put that amount on your wall or your ceiling or whatever, so every day you wake up and look at it and you get motivated and you say, all right, constant reminder, let's work to make that money. Then you end up making that money. So I guess it does work, but it only works if you do. That's like the kind of message it is. So if your goal is, I don't know, you want to get 8% body fat or whatever the hell it is, if you're constantly thinking about it, then you're always going to be on top of your game. Oh, I got to eat this food, or no, I can't eat this food. And then eventually you'll get it. That's really what it is. It's not just wish for it and it'll happen, because that's not going to happen, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to nutrition. Do you have anything you want to add? Yeah, do you have anything you want to add to what I said? I basically, the way I left it off was, you need the nutrition to provide your body with all the raw materials it needs to produce these hormones. So a lot of these hormones are produced through the foods that we eat, through the nutrients we eat, and you just can't optimize it without them.
Yeah, correct. There's nothing else I have to say about that. So I kind of want to start backwards first here with this one, big guy. So let's talk about now what in the diet can cause poor testosterone. And I'm sure you're going to love this one, so I guess I'll let you take it first.
Yeah, and this is arguably one of the major reasons people suffer from low testosterone. It's not just they're born with bad genetics or their body just naturally is on the low end of testosterone. Most of these people, basically, it's the same thing as anything else. People aren't born to be fat, to be obese. They might have genes or genetics in them with slower metabolisms, but it doesn't mean that they have to be severely out of shape, severely overweight. It's what they do on a constant day-to-day basis that makes that worse, So it's the same thing with hormone levels and testosterone in specific. Let's say you're born naturally, your body doesn't produce a ton of testosterone.
You're born naturally?
No, I'm saying when you're born, naturally your body doesn't, just the way you're born, your genetics. Your genetics...
Yeah, when the aliens bring you down, guys, you don't count.
Yeah, forget about them for a second. We want the guys that are born here. But so I'll use myself as an example. My testosterone is on the higher end. I happen to think that most people in my family, the men, do have higher testosterone. Just looking at them, their features, stuff like that. I'm sure my father had higher testosterone when he was my age than even I do. Just genetically, I have higher testosterone. But if I were to eat a very, very, very poor diet, I can severely lower my testosterone and I can make myself be in the lower end of normal. I probably would never have a real testosterone deficiency just based on my genetics, but I might not have 800. I could have a 200 or 300 if I eat all these bad foods. So diet is one of the biggest things that can lower your testosterone, and it's the same reason, like I said, you do see a lot of people overweight. Same thing. You see people with bad hormone levels because they're eating all these bad foods. They're eating their fast foods. They're eating all these trans fatty foods. They're eating all these foods loaded with soybean oil, all these processed foods. The diets are just terrible for the average person. So a lot of times these people that suffer from these issues, they're inducing it with bad diets. Do you want to get into the diet part of it yet, or just you want to leave it at that? I don't know how deep you want to go so far.
I love it deep, man. Do you want me to talk about the diet, or do you want to talk about it?
Let's roll with the actual diet part. I think that kind of prefaces what we're getting into here.
That's what I just said, but okay, go ahead. Do you want me to start?
Start with it, yeah.
All right, so usually the common trend with a lot of the major diets is that they lack antioxidants. Antioxidants are extremely important for preventing cell damage. And again, if your body's not running efficiently, you're not going to be able to efficiently elevate testosterone levels. So antioxidants are extremely important. And when you eat a diet that doesn't have a lot of antioxidants in it, you're going to get a lot of the negative things that happen. This is why one of the things, and we'll go over this in a little bit with cholesterol, why it's so important to have antioxidants, because cholesterol, when eaten too much, is very bad for you. But if you have the proper amount of antioxidants in a day, the amount that you're supposed to get, you limit the reason for heart disease from that, because you protect all the cells from the free radical damage that's out there. So a diet high in antioxidants is really good to have, but the normal diet no one can eat enough fruits and vegetables. Heck, I don't even feel like I eat enough fruits and vegetables in a day. So we have to make sure that we have that in there. That's one of the reasons why. 2, like my co-host mentioned, everything nowadays is cooked in soybean oil. You know what? I'll pass that one to you. I'll let you go rant.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse here with the whole soybean oil thing, but I guess people are starting to catch on to it a little more, and they're understanding why I talk about it so much. But basically, you know, if you said this yourself, if you look at any food label on anything in your house, I guarantee you're going to see like 8, 9, 10 items, 8 or 9 out of 10 items that have soybean oil or some type of other vegetable oil. And these vegetable oils in general, they're just terrible for you. You know, those things, they're going to raise estrogen in the body. They're going to blunt testosterone. Whenever estrogen goes high, testosterone levels get suppressed. We talked a lot about the feedback loop in the body with the testosterone levels. And, you know, if you're constantly eating these foods that have these vegetable oils in it, you're eating soy protein, you're eating soybean oil, a lot of these things with vegetable oils, even canola oils, any of these polyunsaturated fats that you find in a lot of stuff, all these are going to go totally against what you're trying to do by eating the right food. So it's kind of like you're turning the switch on, then you're turning it back off by eating these. And the fact is, no matter how healthy you eat, if you start eating all these junk foods, if you start throwing these junk foods in on top of it, you're kind of just negating the whole process of what you're trying to do in the first place. And it's the only way to do it is you have to look at your food labels and you have to eliminate stuff with these, with these foods in them. And it's another reason why a lot of these diets that are quote unquote healthy, vegan, paleo, all this stuff, a lot of these guys that are on vegan diets have lower testosterone. It's not the fact that they're just not eating a lot of protein, but they're also eating a lot of these polyunsaturated fats. There's vegetable oils and a lot of stuff they're eating. A lot of stuff they're eating has soy in it, soybean oils. So they're doing a lot to suppress their natural hormone production. And, they don't even realize it. They think they're quote unquote eating healthy, but how healthy could it be if it's really lowering your hormone levels in your body?
Yeah. The other thing, too, when it comes to what in the diet causes poor testosterone is obviously just not the proper macronutrient breakdowns, not making sure you're getting enough protein, maybe having too little carbs, actually, which we'll learn about in a second. Different kinds of fat. Maybe the fat intake is too low. There's a lot of things that encompass the regular, normal American diet that make it not optimal for testosterone production. The other thing too, fiber. Obviously, fiber is very important just for overall health. And when we're not healthy, when our liver and our kidneys can't function correctly, you're not going to get an optimal amount of testosterone just because of that alone. So you have to make sure you're healthy overall. I mean, again, we could talk about body composition, but we talked about that already. That also plays an important role. But I think we covered a lot with the diet. Did we miss anything, man? Soybean oil. We miss anything? I think we covered it.
As far as negative effects?
Yeah, what in the diet can cause poor testosterone? Well, what else do people do? Alcohol obviously is another bad one because obviously, like we just said, the liver and the kidneys have to make sure they're functioning properly in order to have higher levels of testosterone. So again, if you're drinking every weekend, if you're smoking, if you're doing drugs, obviously all those things are going to lower your testosterone levels, along with a lot of other things a lot of other health implications that they have. But
yeah, and just severely lacking of any one macronutrient or even micronutrient. But people, you mentioned this too, low carb diets. So I don't really want to. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but cutting out certain macronutrients altogether. Oh, I don't eat fat, or oh, I don't eat carbs, or I eat a low protein diet. All of these things are going to play a role in your testosterone production. Some of them a lot more important than others. Fats being more important than protein, let's say, for testosterone production. But anytime you cut something out completely, your body is just not going to be in an optimal state to produce these hormones. So you got to look at your diet. And if you take anything away from this, and it's one major thing, the one major thing is, if you're completely removing something from your diet, chances are, depending what it is, if it's something bad for you, that's a different case. But if you completely remove something from your diet, your body's not going to function optimally. It's not going to be healthy, and things are going to suffer. And hormone levels are definitely going to be one of them. So you got to take that into account when you go on your low carb diets or your low fat diets or even your low protein diets. I mean, nobody listening to this probably does a low protein diet, but carbs and fats, you have the anti-carb people that might listen to this, and you have the anti-fat people that might listen to this. And I can guarantee if you remove either one of them completely, I mean, you can't do it with fats just because they're essential macronutrients, but if you go super low, you're going to suffer those effects. If you try to go on a ketogenic diet and pull carbs out altogether, you're going to suffer the effects of that as well.
Yeah. So let's move on to the macronutrients, man. So now I know everyone's thinking automatically fat, but I want to talk about carbs first. So the macronutrients that are important for testosterone are obviously all of them, but let's talk about carbs now. So what's the role of carbohydrates when it comes to testosterone intake? So when it comes to carbohydrates, low blood glucose concentrations stimulate a compensatory response from hormones like epinephrine, glucagon, and cortisol, known as the fuel mobilizing hormones. So I'm going to read this to you. This is a little bit of a little study here. So for example, one study found drastically higher levels of these hormones in subjects after consuming a low carbohydrate diet compared to subjects consuming a high carbohydrate diet. So low carbohydrate diets tend to have a direct effect on testosterone to cortisol ratio in humans. So again, guys, we want to keep testosterone as high as possible. So from what we see here from the studies that show that when you eat low carb, a lot of those other hormones that are not efficient for testosterone end up moving up. So again, if you want testosterone up there, it's all about a balance with the other hormones. So if testosterone's if carbohydrates are low, you're going to have more of those other hormones in there, and that's going to push the testosterone level down. So that's one thing there. So I'll read another one to you. So in a low carbohydrate test group, resting levels tested 3 days post-training found an additional 36.1% decrease in free testosterone and a 14.8% increase in cortisol, indicating that not only do the effects of training stimulus negatively impact the individual immediately following training, but seems to accentuate over time in the absence of stimulus due to an inability of the diet to support the training and increased effort of fuel mobilizing hormones to compensate. So that makes a lot of sense. The other thing too, SHBG, which we talked about earlier in the last podcast, sex hormone binding globulin, and cortisol binding protein levels are shown to be decreased with moderate to high levels of carbohydrates. So again, we spoke about this earlier. When SHBG, we want it to be low, right? Wait, hold on.
Yes.
We want it to be high. We want it to be low. Yes. So with a high protein diet, they stay low. When they're lower, everything low, high. When the carbohydrate diet is low, SHBG is higher. So we don't want that because the higher the SHBG, the lower the free testosterone in the blood.
Correct, yeah. And carbs, as he mentioned many times just now, carbs play a role in that. And to keep it as simple as possible, he just gave you all the science, but to summarize it a little bit and keep it a little more simple, you have to think about it like this. Your body, your brain functions on glucose primarily. Now, you get the people who are anti-carb that say, okay, you could just take carbs out of the diet completely and your body will burn ketones for energy, and that's great. But the fact is, ketosis, your body burning ketones for energy, it's there as a survival mechanism. Your body's not meant to function on ketones. It's there in case you starve and you don't eat carbs, oh, we'll just burn ketones. So the fact is, whenever you put your body in a state of ketosis, you're technically putting it in a state of survival mode. So when that happens, things like cortisol are going to go up, like you said, different hormones are going to rise. Testosterone is not going to be in its optimal range because your body's not being provided with the optimal macronutrient ratio. So you're going to function, yes, but are you going to be optimal? No. So that's a big argument a lot of times people have when they go on ketogenic diets, where they say, well, it's a great diet for increasing testosterone because your fats are going to be so high. And we all know fats play a role in producing testosterone. Yes, higher fats definitely will help with testosterone, but if you remove carbs completely or go too low with them, like I said, you're going to put your body in deprived state. Cortisol levels might rise. Different hormones are going to go up that you don't want to go up. Testosterone is going to take a hit. So how do you fix that? Don't go super low with the carbs. Raise your fats up, keep your calories in a pretty good range, and then you might see the benefits of the higher fats. But if you take those carbs too low, you're going to defeat the purpose again.
Yeah. So another hormone that we'll talk about here with just low-carb diets in general. So we mentioned this in the last podcast also, GnRH, or gonadotropin-releasing hormone, which is the hormone that basically starts the whole cascade of events that eventually lead to testosterone synthesis, adjusts its pulsation rate according to the glucose levels of the body. So when there's a high amount of glucose present, the hypothalamus inside our brain releases more GnRH, and thus your body synthesizes more testosterone. So when there's a low amount of glucose present in your body, the brain releases less GnRH, which slows down testosterone synthesis. So obviously, we knew this already. We spoke about it so many times too. Carbohydrates are essential. So you have to make sure they're in your diet. A lot of people think, actually, this is kind of old now. I don't think anyone really thinks that carbs make them fat. Maybe.
No, plenty of people still think that.
Yeah, I haven't heard it as much.
Nobody listening to us thinks that anymore, but plenty of people who don't still think that, yes.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so again, guys, carbohydrates are essential for your body. You have to make sure you're consuming them. So let's move on to protein now, man.
Well, I just want to say something before people get upset. They're not essential to survival. They're essential to optimizing everything in your body. That's what you should say. Because some people are going to throw out, technically it's a non-essential macronutrient, but if you want to get the most results that you can possibly get, then yes, carbohydrates are essential. But essential for survival, no.
All right, let's talk. Do you want to talk about fat or protein next? We can talk about protein last if you want to. We can move on to fat.
Yeah, let's talk about fat. Fat always gets the most attention, but we'll go into detail why.
All right, so obviously fat's important for testosterone production. We'll start off with cholesterol, as that is a fat, obviously. So do you want to talk about that, man? You want me to do it, or what's the story here?
Yeah, I'll go into it a little bit. So basically, out of all the fat sources, cholesterol always gets the most attention for hormone production. So that's one of those nutrients that if you're trying to...
Hold on. Wait, back up. So cholesterol is a precursor for can't speak today. Jesus Christ.
There he goes, cutting everybody off again. Go ahead.
Cholesterol is a precursor for testosterone. Thank you.
Right. So hence why it gets the most attention out of all these nutrients in the body and stuff that you should focus on consuming if you're trying to optimize testosterone. So cholesterol among fat in general is going to play a major role in producing testosterone, other hormones in the body. So those are kind of like the foundation of fat sources in your body for testosterone production. So you have a couple things that are with fats that are going to raise testosterone levels. The most simple one is, yes, cholesterol in your body, but also the total amount of fat you consume in a day. So there's going to be a difference between, let's just say that if somebody told you 75 grams of fat is the amount of fat you need to eat in a day to optimize your testosterone, that means if you eat 75 grams a day, you're going to have the most amount of testosterone in your body. If you eat 65, you're going to be suboptimal. If you eat 50, you're not going to be anywhere near optimal. And if you have 40, you're going to be in a huge deficiency. So let's just throw that out there. So now you have the right amount. So the amount of total fat you have in your diet is going to play a role in testosterone production, but that's going to cover only one end. Now you have to talk about what types of fat you're going to eat in your diet to optimize that. So if it's 75 grams of fat, but like we said, it's all polyunsaturated fats, it's all soybean oil, it's all canola oil, vegetable oil, stuff like that, it's not going to be as optimal as 75 grams of the correct fat. Cholesterol being one, You got your monounsaturated fats, your omega-3s, those healthier fats, and the right amounts of them combined with the total amount is what's going to help raise your testosterone levels. So you have to look at all ends of it. You can't just say, I eat 75 grams of fat, my testosterone levels are probably optimized because of the amount of fat I'm eating. You have to take into account the right amount of fats and the right type of fats.
Yeah, so many people think that, fat is just really bad to consume, that fat will get you fat, and that's, beyond the truth. Actually, the recommendation for fat cholesterol a day is around 300 milligrams. That's like what the RDA recommends people get. And your body really needs anywhere between 700 to around 1,400 milligrams. And it's scary that, we think that, you've heard the whole thing before, don't eat whole eggs. Whole eggs are bad for cholesterol. Actually, there's a lot of studies out there showing that now that's the opposite, that actually a whole egg is actually good for cholesterol. So, you can't listen to everybody. You can't listen to the next fad diet.
Yeah.
You have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. But like we said, there's different types of fat. So we have basically your monounsaturated fat, you have your polyunsaturated fat, and then you have your saturated fat. And these are the ones that are vital for testosterone production just in general. So do you want to, I guess we'll talk about monounsaturated fat first.
Yeah, sure.
So why are monounsaturated fats so important for testosterone? So I'll give you, I guess I'll explain what each one is then. So let's talk about it. So polyunsaturated fats. So you got your omega-3s, your 3, 6, 9, 7. You have sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil actually is a polyunsaturated fat. Flaxseed oil, walnut oil, margarine, and light spreads. So that's your polyunsaturated fat. Then you have monounsaturated fats, which are very good for testosterone production, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you have your olive oil, almond butter, peanut butter, avocado oil, hazelnut oil, and macadamia nut oil. Then you have your saturated fats. So this is from red meat, butter, coconut oil, palm oil, dark chocolate, egg yolks, whole milk, etc. So guys, this is why it's important to make sure you're consuming enough fat in a day and making sure. Actually, for optimal testosterone production, I would say that your fat percentage intake should be anywhere between 35 and 40%. And that may seem kind of high, but that's usually, if your goal is to optimize hormones, you have to be within that percentage. All right, let's move on now. Let's talk about the importance of fiber, man. So let's talk about broccoli, one of your favorite foods to eat.
Yes, definitely. And it's one of those foods where it's not going to directly increase testosterone like we're talking about with fat. So there's a direct relationship between eating enough fat and testosterone levels. So if you're eating too little fat, testosterone levels are going to be could be deficient. If you consume more, that's going to potentially help raise testosterone. So now, something like broccoli is going to have an indirect relationship with testosterone levels. So when you consume broccoli, basically broccoli has things in it that will actually help control or even lower estrogen in the body. And as we talked about before in the last podcast, the balance between testosterone and estrogen is what's really going to dictate how optimal your hormone levels are. If your estrogen's too high, it's going to inhibit testosterone. And if you lower that estrogen, it's going to help raise testosterone. So now, if you eat something like broccoli or other foods that will actually help lower estrogen in the body, you'll have an impact on testosterone levels indirectly, because now your estrogen's lower, your testosterone is going to increase. So raising testosterone through fats, the right macronutrients, the right micronutrients can help raise testosterone directly. Now, controlling estrogen or lowering it in the body through eating stuff like broccoli, other green leafy vegetables like that, it's going to help lower that estrogen level. Then in turn, testosterone goes up. So it's really important to cover it from both ends. You can have people that do have low testosterone and not necessarily have very high estrogen, but generally 9 times out of 10 from what I've seen, there's a direct relationship always. And sometimes it's not about just raising testosterone, it's about lowering estrogen. So sometimes people will see more of a benefit just controlling estrogen and then having testosterone levels increase rather than attacking it from the source and trying to purposely increase testosterone. Sometimes it's lowering estrogen.
Yeah, exactly. So the phytonutrients and all the other ingredients in broccoli is actually the stuff that helps reduce the anti-aromatizing enzymes, which stops testosterone from being turned into estrogen. So just a little, that's why eat your broccoli, guys. Broccoli is very important. That's why Big Pete over there loves his broccoli. And actually, I mean, I don't know if this is hearsay, but obviously, I mean, I think it's a good conclusion. So estrogen levels are usually higher at night, right?
Yes.
Typically for guys.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a big bowl of broccoli, ideally the best time of day to have that is going to be at night, because it is going to lower that estrogen level, at the amount of time that it's high. I mean, again, it's one of those things that you read and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And it makes a little sense. I figured I might say it on the podcast, but I don't know. Again, I'm not sure how true that is. I don't think there's any way to actually measure that. But point of the matter is, if you can't get your broccoli, if you can't get your broccoli in at night, just get it in any time of the day. It's still going to have the same benefit. I mean, don't worry about doing that. But you guys get the idea. I just thought that was a fun fact to spew out there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would sound, if I had to pick a time of the day to do it, to optimize it, that's probably what I would do. I don't know if it actually makes a difference, but you can't go wrong either way is the point.
Yeah. All right, the last topic I want to talk about is low calories versus high calories. So obviously, guys, you're going to be in a more anabolic environment and more hormonally friendly if you're in a higher calorie diet. Not to say that you can't be dieting for a little bit and still optimize hormones, and yes, you can, but it's when you get to severe levels of lower body fat that you're really going to wreak havoc on all those hormones. So a little diet is okay, but if you're really trying to optimize your hormones, you want to be in more of a maintenance / higher calorie time. That's going to really help alter all those hormones, make sure everything's running optimally, and you're going to be having enough calories to pursue to making sure you're having enough carbohydrates, enough protein, enough fat, so that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize that when they go on severe, strict diets like that, a lot of times they make it harder for themselves to lose weight, to burn fat, to build muscle, whatever it is, because what they're doing is they're putting their body in a state of very low calories. Again, it's very similar to, like I said, when you remove carbs completely, you're kind of putting your body in a state of survival mode. If you're losing 2-3 pounds a week, eating very, very low calories, your body's not in a healthy state. It's in survival mode. It's just trying to do whatever it can to use that energy that you're providing it with optimally. So what happens then, like I said, a lot of stress hormones go up, cortisol goes up, your body's going to be a little out of whack. Yeah, you're losing weight, but you know what? Hormone levels are going to go down. Your testosterone levels are going to go down too. Everybody reports, when they compete in bodybuilding, physique competitions, generally the last few weeks, even libido goes down. Everything goes down because hormone markers are all over the place. And, it's necessarily evil with competing, but in general, if you're trying to optimize your testosterone, putting yourself in a very severe dieting phase is going to, again, turn the switch right off.
Yeah. So that's why you have to make sure you're eating enough, especially if this is your goal. Obviously, if your goal is to get lean, it's okay. But this is why we also recommend, utilizing things like maximizing your metabolism, which can be found in Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code. Because after you diet, it's important to kind of reverse diet and kind of put those hormones back slowly and make sure they come back better than ever. So that's why it's important to do that. A lot of people just go on, deep diets and just binge after, and that's not good at all, man. That's horrible for your hormones. I mean, we can talk about what happened when we pre-contest dieted.
Yeah, and you know what? That could lead to even worse things. That's a good point, too. So if you get yourself in a very severe dieting state and then you go binge afterwards, you think, oh, if I just have a few good meals, I'm gonna feel a lot better. You're putting yourself in a worse position now. You think you're doing good, but you're making it worse because now you have that slow metabolism. Your body's in survival mode. You go to eat a few binge meals after you've been dieting 16 weeks, 20 weeks on very low calories. You're going to just store body fat now on top of it. So now you have your body totally with a totally slower metabolism, throwing extra body fat on it. So now you have a slow metabolism with extra body fat on it. Your metabolic rate's not going to really improve because of that. Your hormone levels are still going to be messed up, and now you got extra fat on you on top of it, so your body's just not going to be running as efficiently. Because, again, you're going to run more efficiently being leaner, but when you start throwing extra body fat on you with a slow metabolism, it's even worse.
Dude, we forgot to totally talk about protein. We kind of left that out. And given that everyone thinks that protein is one of those macronutrients that increases testosterone automatically, and the simple fact of the matter is that it's not. And obviously fat's the most important one. But protein is definitely important. The only thing that you really have to learn and know about protein when it comes to increasing testosterone levels is make sure that you get most of your protein from full-blown animal sources. You don't want to be saying, oh, my beans, this and that, because you're not going to get enough amino acids that way, and it's just not going to be ideal for muscle building and optimizing your testosterone levels. Usually if you get your sources of protein from things other than animal sources, it's going to have other things in it. So, for example, if you're having soy protein, soy is going to go totally against testosterone production.
Yep, and you know, protein is going to be out of the 3 macronutrients, obviously the least important for testosterone production. But if your goal is to build muscle and burn fat, protein is going to be vital in that. And you know, so it's all about balance with that. You got to make sure you're eating enough so that you're optimizing your muscle building, optimizing your fat burning. But again, you want to eat the right amount and make sure that you have enough in your system to optimize your testosterone levels. So you want to make sure, again, it's not just total amounts. I think a lot of people, after they get so involved with just counting macros, they kind of forget that yes, calories in versus calories out means 90% of the equation when it comes to fat burning and building muscle. And I'd say even more so for fat burning, calories in versus calories out applies more so than muscle building. But there's always things within calories in and calories out that you should be paying attention to. And I hope that the way we broke this down kind of sheds a little light on why there's certain foods that are better than others, you know, and you should have the right amount of certain foods if you're trying to maximize these hormones and do things optimally. Yes, you can get away with calories in versus calories out to build muscle and burn fat, and it'll get 90% of the job done. But if you want to maximize that extra 10%, these things have to be the right amounts and the right types of food.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. And well put, because I was just going to mention that too. I would say as a flexible dieter, you're guilty of all these things because you're just trying to hit, you know, your macros for the day. So, you know, if Oreos fit in, that's fine, but it can't be a majority of it. You know, I would say at least 80 to 90% of your food that you eat should be bodybuilder food, sweet potatoes, as we learned, you know, a good carbohydrate source, you know, vegetables, you know, your whole sources of protein, your animal source of protein. These things are so important. Yes, you could fit in the Oreo and the cake here and there, but that's literally what it's going to be here and there. I mean, you have to get your servings of fruits and vegetables every day because it's important just for overall health. Yeah. I mean, guys, I know, you know, I'm an old man now. I'm going to be 30 years old, but, you know, health is very important. You want to be around forever, so you got to make sure of that. All right, guys, I hope we did a good job explaining this to you. Again, like we said, this is very, very dense stuff, and we're trying to make this as simple as possible for you guys. So I hope we did a good job doing that. I hope we didn't confuse you guys too much because, like I said, this is very, very dense, and we're really, really trying to make it simple for you guys. So hopefully we did a good job. If you thought we did, make sure you give us a 5-star review on iTunes, as that helps the channel grow. And don't forget to share this episode with all your friends. Anyone who's interested in raising the testosterone, let them listen to this because this is definitely going to help them. But again, guys, be sure to get on the pre-launch list for this program. Head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com/maxtest. MAX test. Head on over there and sign up. newyorkmuscleradio.com/maxtest. All right, big guy.
All right, guys. Pete and Anthony, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.